Yeah, totally. And I appreciate you having me here. And I think that the thing with email in general, especially if you're marketing into the healthcare space specifically, um, people say email's dead, email's legacy, email's old. But those are the people that really aren't looking at email and how much it changes all the time. It hasn't just changed a little bit in the last, 5 years or 10 years. It's changed radically every year. So things are always changing, and there's things that you always want to be testing. So the way I kind of always try to think about it is breaking down each element of the email. And oftentimes marketers work the wrong way. They work backwards. They think about their offer first. They think about their creative that they're going to send out. And then once they have that all done, they're like, oh, what's the subject line? What's all that stuff? And that's kind of like, that's the toppings on top of the sundae, where that doesn't make any sense, because if you don't get the person to open up the email, who really cares? Who really cares what's inside the email? So I look at all the starting elements. The first starting element is the from address, right? You're sending out an email, it's coming from somewhere. And when you're sending out that email, the from address, that's, if my email address is the letter J Schwedelson at corpwd.com, that's actually my email address. I don't want you to change or think about changing your actual email address. But the from name, which is what you can change every time you send out an email. When I send out an email, my from name is just my name. So it's Jay Schwedelson. It shows up nice and neat in your inbox, and we all do that. But that from name, I don't care what platform you're on. It doesn't matter what marketing automation tool you're using. You can change that from name every time you hit send, and it takes 5 seconds to do. And so if you want to make it more personalized, it can come from a person, Dr. Joe Smith. It can come from, if you're promoting an event, let's say you're promoting a webinar, an on-demand something or another, it could say, Acme Events, right? You don't need to have it just say the brand name. The closer that you can get your from name that you're using tied to the offer that you're promoting in the subject line, we see a radical increase in engagement and people opening up the email. So think about that from name a lot and testing that from name, because it doesn't cost you $1 to do that. And it's like the forgotten variable, unfortunately. So then after you get to the from name, you get to the subject line. Now, there's a lot of myths about the subject line, about content filtering, spammy words, spam trigger words, things that you're going to put in your subject line. They're going to cause you to go to the junk or spam folder. The reality of it is some portion of all of our email, I don't care if you're the biggest marketer in the world, about 20% of all of our email, all of us, are going to go to the junk or spam folder for 100 different reasons. And it's not because of the content, the words and symbols and things that you're putting in the subject line. That used to be the case 10 years ago. You go to the junk folder because you have poor engagement with the people you're emailing to. And the reason I want to share that is because I want to liberate you in terms of how you're writing your copy and how you're thinking about special characters in the subject line. Can you put brackets at the start of your subject line and then put in there, watch now? And when you have an on-demand video, can you put an exclamation point? Can you put numbers? Can you put an emoji? Yeah, an emoji sounds silly, but emoji doesn't have to be a smiley face. It could be a check mark. It could be a little calendar emoji. Can you put that in your subject line? The answer is yes. And it's going to increase engagement, which ironically, not only will you not go to the junk folder, you will generate more opens and more clicks because you're using all these different symbols and words and things, which will increase your engagement, which ironically is what causes you to stay in the inbox. So in some weird cosmic way, by doing all the things that you've been avoiding, you're actually going to have a greater likelihood of staying in the inbox long term by using them. And then after you nail that subject line, right, we've nailed the from line, the subject line. Now you have the pre-header, which is that kind of lighter gray, some people call it the second subject line, that lighter gray text that shows up, especially on your mobile device, right? You want to make sure that that is offer-related content. That first line of that pre-header does not say, if you're having trouble viewing this, click here, right? If you want to say that, that's fine. We call that your format issue content. Put that after, in the pre-header, put it after the content about the offer. That pre-header, the first sentence of that pre-header should be an extension of your subject line. In general, your pre-header should be less than 85 characters. Okay, but it should be an extension, and it should always be offer related in that pre-header. You're building on what you're saying in the subject line. You're being repetitive. That's what you want to do in that pre-header. And then you want to put the format issue stuff. Great, put that after the offer stuff. You do those three things. You focus on those three things. Get the emails open, and then you live to fight another day to tackle getting people to click on their emails, go to your landing pages, and there's 75 things that you can be doing to increase engagement on all of that. but you focus on those 3 things and you should see a big boost to your overall performance.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's awesome. So starting at the end, basically starting with the end in mind, what's going to get them to open that email?
Always. What you have to say every time you hit send, the 2 things I say in my head is, am I testing something? Every time I hit send. You always want to be testing something, right? Test something always. The second thing I say in my head is, what am I doing in this email to get my email opened and not everybody else's? How is this email going to stand out? What have I done to try to stand out? And it's not going to always work, right? You're going to do lots of tests. Most often your tests are not going to work. But am I sending it at a different time of day? Did I try that from name? Okay, did I segment my list and send it to a certain population? Right? Did I do this in the subject line? What did I do in this end to try to get my email open? The beautiful thing about email, the thing that's unlike any other marketing channel on earth, I don't care if it's TV, a billboard in Times Square, a social post, I don't care. The one thing about email that is different than every other marketing channel is you have the same real estate that the biggest marketers in the world do. Right? When Apple sends out their email, okay, they have a bigger marketing budget than you do. I promise you that. They don't have any more real estate in their from address or their subject line or their pre-header or their email. They have the exact same real estate that you do. They have the exact same opportunity to get their email open that you do. And that is super cool. You get to go head to head with the biggest marketers on the planet. And if you play the game right, you can beat them every single time. And that's what makes email exciting.